Hey everyone, it is Troy from Roadside RC. In this video, we are taking the Axial SCX10 Gladiator, and we are doing 7 free modifications that you can do to this truck out of the box, cost you $0, that either help make it crawl or just maybe make your life just a little bit better. Hey everyone, my name is Troy. This is Roadside RC. If you're new here, welcome. We do all the RC stuff, whether it is crawling or bashing or drifting, do some racing, FPV drone stuff. We also do a bunch of how-to videos and product reviews. And what we're looking at here today is the Axial SCX10iii. This was loaned to us from our friend, the Mr. Rich DRC, and we are going to start to do a build series on it. I'll leave you a link to a video up here in the corner from where we got the truck and we did our first look at it. Now it's time to start doing some modifications to it, and everybody loves free modifications, right? I know I do. And so we're going to be doing 7 things, small things really, but that help with either the crawling ability of the truck or just your day in, day out usability of it. And so let's get started. First thing we're going to address with this is this rear bumper. Because this truck is so long and this rear bumper does hang off so much. I mean, we're talking 3 inches past the rear tire. It hits a bunch of things, whether it is going uphill and you are catching it as you're going uphill, whether you're coming off of an obstacle and as you come off it hits down there on the bottom. That is a thing and it sucks. It is very frustrating. So what we're going to do is take these 2 screws out, shove this bumper in as far as it will physically go, drill new holes for the screws to go in, and probably have to hit some of this on the bottom here with a grinder. Because of the body mounting system, we need to make sure that we can still gain access to it. Again, one of the things we're going to do before we get started, we're going to set a baseline. So from the tire back here, that looks like it's about 70 millimeters. If you flip that around, that's right at 3 inches. The other thing we're going to do is the angle test here. So with our magnetic angle finder, we're going to put anchor underneath the tire. We're going to come up until we touch the bumper, and we're going to see that we are at, am I touching it? There we go. We're going to see that we are at, it's wiggling, about 45 degrees, something like that. Hopefully you can see it here. We're at about 45, maybe just a hair under 45 degrees. Whatever this plastic is that Axial uses on this bumper, it turns out cuts like butter with a razor knife. I was really surprised, sharp blade in here, how it just, I mean, it just like cut itself. So that actually was very quick work. And we're able to now shove that bumper all the way in up against this back support. So these parts stick out are literally right up against this back little notch here, the bumper. Check that out. That actually looks pretty good. It is not shoved in too far. It's actually rather flush. I mean, that almost looks like where that should have been from the factory. What? And again, with the magic of a knife, this bumper is now a slim representation of what it used to be. So we're gonna stick this back in here and measure to see how much difference we have made. Looks like we measured at the beginning here, so we've cut off maybe about 5 millimeters. It looks like something like that. We're now at about 2 3/4, maybe just a little bit less than that, inches. We measure this total departure angle here. We are now all the way up about 50 degrees, so we've actually gained about 5 degrees, and all that absolutely free. Item number 1 done, right? Trimmed that rear bumper, that is in. So now we're going to go on to item number 2, which is, because this rear bumper is in, it creates the rear body here doesn't look very good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this line and we're going to cut this line up and over right in. So you see how thick that line is? We're going to come around with it so that it looks still natural and good. We're going to cut all that right off. One of the things I noticed when I did my first crawl is we were catching here, right? So we're catching on the bumper, we're also catching on here. So we're going to gain ourselves a little bit of clearance so that we don't catch this body on rocks as we go over them. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a piece of tape to line out where I think I want this to go, what I want this to look like, how I want that to flow. Making sure that it comes up and it matches right there with that body line. So I am going to cut it something like that. And then maybe hit this with a grinder and round this edge off after I have cut this part like that. And just like that, look at that, we are trimmed up. So cut off a whole chunk of this fender flare, cut off a whole chunk of the body, and honestly, you can't even really tell. It looks like it was supposed to be that way. Yes, my cut here's not exactly perfect, but whatever. So on this back side, in order to make sure that this fender flare still held good, because I ended up removing one of the screws, a couple dabs of glue, and it is in good shape. Now that we have the rear bumper and the rear of the body all sorted, we're gonna move underneath to item number 3, which is these dual battery trays. They don't do any, like, you don't need 2 battery trays. You're not going on that long of a trail walk with a crawler that you need 2 to carry 2 batteries. You can't just stick one in your pocket. Or the argument says, well, you could choose to put your battery back here. You don't want to do that. There's not a crawler on the face of the earth that you want to put more weight in the rear on. And so this is useless. But it's nice that this is a bigger battery tray than this one is, right? But the core of them is the same. It's just these little wings that are different. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this tray off. But what we're going to do is we're going to swap one of these end pieces over here, and then that way we have a little bit more adjustability, a little bit easier able to fit the battery that we want in this car without having to worry about other stuff. So 2 screws, this thing comes out, a couple more screws here and here, we swap those over, done. And just like that, we've removed this back piece, and we now have enough room for the 3000 milliamp 3S battery that we plan on running on this thing, and it'll do us great. It'll last an hour plus easily while we're crawling around. Perfect. We've trimmed the rear bumper, we've trimmed the rear of the body, we've gotten rid of the excess not needed battery tray, and it is actually what hides number 4. As you look at the rear of this vehicle, what you'll notice is when the suspension is under compression, it actually hits these 2 things right here. It actually hits these 2 mounts for the battery tray. That doesn't make any dang sense, right? Now, let's be honest. This isn't a monster truck. You're not going to be doing a bunch of jumping this way to where you'd actually hit that. And when you flex, you're going to hit way up here. You're not going to hit down here at the stock ride height. But once we actually have this truck lower a little bit, then you are coming into contact as you flex on right there. As you flex right there, that's the first thing you're hitting. So we are going to get out the handy dandy side cutters, precision cutting instruments, and snip these off on both sides. And literally like 30 seconds later, now there we are. And look, now what we actually hit on now when the suspension fully compresses, you're actually laying frame to axle. That's what's hitting now. We're literally frames all the way down. We have created a little bit extra clearance for us. And now we are on to item number 5 of our list of 7 things to do to your SCX10iii Gladiator for free. All right. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, putting the body on this thing is actually quite the pain in the tail. Now, it's not those front and rear body mounts. That's fine. It's actually these dang side skirts and this little thin slit that you have to put the dang body in. Oh my gosh, it never wants to stay in there. And the other thing for me is it's always wanting to hit these inner front fenders. It is never ending. So we're going to do 2 things very simply in order to make this life easier for us. We're going to take these side skirts off. They're only, I believe, 2 screws. Yep, 1, 2 screws. The whole side skirt comes off, and we're actually going to trim down this inner piece just a little bit narrower. Now, you could actually just take it all the way off. You could actually just take it all the way off, and then, wow, that would make your life drastically easier. But I do like the channel for holding the side of the body. It just looks good. It keeps it nice and tight. It looks good. But the height is too close to the height of these pieces. And so as you put the body down on there, it's hard to get it. If you want to get over this one, then it's easy for it to pop over both. So I want this to be about half the height it is now. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to just trim ever so slightly these inner fenders to make sure that the body's not hitting the inner fenders that are inside the body itself with those screw heads are not hitting as we try to put it down on here. Right, so now with many amounts of plastic removed, look, now you can set the body in the front, you can set it down in the rear, pop it over those fenders, pop the sides into the remaining groove that's on the side here, and you're done. Look, it actually just, look, you just basically just lay it on there. Oh my gosh, it's so magical. Axial, you guys knew this was a pain when you put it out, and you still put it out anyway, so shame on you guys a little bit for that, right? But as you can see from the inside here, what we did is hacked the sides away from these inner fenders, hacked this piece, trimmed the rears just ever so slightly, and that's all it needs. Hey, look, guess what? Bonus, truck weighs less now. So now we are on to item number 6 of our total list of things that you can do to an Axial SCX10iii for free. All right, and this one is not going to make a big deal. It's not going to make a huge change, but what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these shock mounting positions and we're going to move them into the upper and innermost hole. There's not a lot of movement that you can do on there, but it does offer about 5 or 6 holes. And so simply unscrew. Yes, and so right here you can see about 5 holes that are available to us. It's in the top center. We're going to move it to the top back. It's going to give us a basically negligible amount of articulation difference, but it's going to give us something without going to full shock keys and hacking more of those inner fenders out. That's all we've got. So with all 4 shocks now in their more rearward angled positions, what you do is you end up lowering the ride height of the total truck just slightly and actually usually increasing its articulation a very small amount. So we are basically where we're going to get with that, unless we go with some modified shock towers or shock keys. At this point now we come to the last of our 7 free things that you can do to an Axial SCX10iii Gladiator out of the box for free. Is we're going to cut these stock tires. So these stock tires are actually pretty good, if I'm honest. It seems like a decently soft compound. Foams in them seem good. I'm actually overall rather pleased with them, but from our previous drives, they held a lot of mud. They kicked up really big. They don't have enough space to clean mud out. And then the other thing is you see these side lugs. I really like the spacing of these side lugs. They give you something there to grip on as you're trying to go up and over a rock or whatever obstacle you have. But the center is way, way too dense. And here is what we're doing. All right, so big block, big square block, and pointy block, right? So what we're doing is we're taking out square block and square block, these alternating ones, and it leaves this kind of zigzag pattern across the tire, just like this. You see that? That's what we're going to do. And what you get is you get a whole big area right here. 1, for when you do get mud in it, it can push back out. But then 2, what you get is much more solid biting edges where you can hit, you can get onto that rock, and you can actually claw your way up. So that is what we are looking at for this tire. Obviously, tip number 7 is not a 5-minute tip. It's not a long time. I was able to do these 1, 2, 3 rows in about 2 or 3 minutes. Just simply pinch the tire up, come in with a knife, and kind of just gently saw back and forth, and that block will come off. A very, very sharp blade will help you make that very, very easy work. And that is our 7 tips for what you can do to an SCX10 for free. Now, I know you want to see this thing drive, but this video has gone on way too long. So stay tuned and you will get to see more upcoming of this truck. We actually have some actual modifications, money modifications that are being done to this truck, and we're going to be testing it and showing the differences along the way the whole time. So stay tuned for that, because the next time you will see this truck, it'll be getting more modifications. You might even see it out on the trails. So thank you very much. Really appreciate all your time, effort, and everything that it takes to come and watch the videos. I hope this was useful for you. Please tell me down below if there's any questions you have as to why I did something. Hey, maybe it's 6 months later, a year later, you're looking at this and you're like, hey, was that really a good idea? Did you ever regret it? You can always come back and ask me, and I'll let you know what I think. Hey, in the meantime, come over here, watch some of our other videos, see some of the other stuff that we have going on. I really really appreciate it. Every bit that you watch helps me do a little bit more on the channel. So thank you very much. Talk to you later. Goodbye.